Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL, and of course, here with my partner in crime, the pony slasher himself, C Money. Good afternoon, kind sir. How you feeling?
Good afternoon, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. We got some not so happy news today, but the rest of the week has been phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? So, it's kind of balance it out, man. Nah, I'm feeling good. Everybody's good, so I'm good. So, yeah, very excited to get into this week's topic, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, listen, folks, for the next 75 minutes, we have two major topics to get into. Of course, we're going to open up with the breaking news that happened earlier today. And of course, that's the sad news that C Money is referring to. Xbox, and more specifically, Microsoft has announced that they're going to be cutting 650 positions. Everyone is reporting on it. We've seen stories from Tom Warren, we've seen stories from Tom Henderson. The community is talking about it, but the story that I'm going to use for the conversation in tow is, of course, from Jez Corden of Windows Central, as I like to use Jez's stuff and kind of put him out there. I mean, everyone knows what Jez Corden is, but I like using his stuff to kind of get you to go, maybe we'll read his article because it was very well written. There's a lot of information we were going to get into. Second half of the program, more so, it's probably going to be a big chunk of it, is some of the numbers that have been coming in for the PlayStation 5 Pro reveal. It's not good. Even some of the most stout PlayStation fans, and I'm not talking about the trolls, I'm talking about people that actually have, 200 platinums, like BitCloud Gaming, for instance, kind of put PlayStation on blast. And the numbers coming in for dislikes versus likes on that reveal by Mark Cerny are not good. Japan, we got some numbers from Japan regarding the price increase that happened last week for the standard PlayStation 5. Again, not good for Sony. They have dropped down 2/3 of what they normally sell, and that, of course, is because of the price increase. So we're going to get into that. This was a console that I don't think anybody really asked for. I know that there's been a lot of people that have been comparing this thing to a 4090. We talked about it last night in prime time. It is not a 4090. It is not. Please do not believe the shenanigans. And the
That's
pricing is
crazy.
just egregious. It really is. And again, you have to look at it because there are defenders of this that are looking at it and be like, well, it's only $700. You should expect that for next gen. No. Not when you compare it to the PlayStation 5 that's currently available for almost $300 less. And then, of course, stop running with the lowest point of contention at $700. It's not $700. That is 700. It's
Nope.
$699.99 before tax. That is before you add a stand, and that is before you add the ability to play a disc that you currently own on your disc PlayStation 5. So it's $830 here in the States, over 1,000 in other countries. Please don't defend this. This is Sony nickeling, diming its consumers. And the funny part, and we're going to get into it, we didn't really get to talk about it last night, is I have it, folks. And look, I don't like speaking in the as a matter of fact kind of way unless I have it on 100,000% credibility from the people that I spoke to. And I'm talking about Astrobot. Astrobot was taken out of the box at the last minute and sold separately to make money for Sony. And I have that on two sources that I can confirm that it was supposed to be a pack-in. It was supposed to be the pack-in for the PS5
Uh,
Pro to justify that price. And they took it out and they gave you Astro's Playroom, which is 4 years old, and came with the PS5. And I have
that's
that confirmed.
hilarious.
And that is atypical. Listen, I'm not going to get into it, nor am I going to apologize that I spent an hour this morning playing it. I'm just about to get to the third world, and I'm playing at a very slow pace because I am finishing everything in each world, and I am absolutely loving it. So I make no apologies for it. But that does not take away from the fact that this is once again PlayStation doing what they're known to do, and the community just bending over and taking it. And it's gross and it's wrong. And well, more people need to let Sony know about themselves, because again, see money. One of the most hilarious things that I saw, and these are grown men, these are grown people with potential families and mortgages and all kinds of important shit, and yet the running narrative is somehow, some way, the lack of competition from Xbox made it easy for Sony to rake people over the coals. I mean, are you serious?
That's crazy.
And that's a for real theory and thought. That's what freaks me out, because I'm like, wow, these are supposed to be people with brains. That's not good. But see, money, let's get into our very heavy topic. Now,
Boom, real quick.
yes.
This situation, I don't know if you're seeing it on the screen, but
Oh
this
yeah.
super slideshow.
Yeah. It's my yeah, let me just stop this footage for the love of Joe. Okay, so I'm gonna get this out of here. I just had them over. See, I stopped the footage and boom, there it is. All right. Well, you know what? I have to figure this out. I have to figure out why I can't play the footage. StreamYards just did a $90 4K streaming thing.
Did
And
they really?
yeah, yeah, it's $90. And I hate taking this out because now we look like a dollar store kind of podcast. I gotta get artwork for two people. Yeah, they offer that. StreamYards is now offering the three tiers, and the highest tier gives you 4K recordable. I don't know if it streams at 4K, but ever since they did the changeover, I'm getting super slow speeds. It didn't happen last night, surprisingly enough, and they just came and changed my router. They swapped out the router. I was getting hot, brand new. I did a speed test.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll figure it out, folks. But listen, again, let's get into a very heavy topic, and that, of course, is the report from Jez Corden of Windows Central. He tweeted earlier today, Microsoft Gaming is laying off 650 staffers, mostly in corporate functions like human resources, finance, marketing, etc., despite record revenues. And that's where they kind of get, they're going to probably get the smoke from people. Now, the article, of course, written by Jez Corden, we do have here the what you need to know section. And he goes on to say here, to open up the article, Xbox formed a new org dubbed Microsoft Gaming a while back after acquiring Bethesda, ZeniMax, and Activision Blizzard King to incorporate all of its gaming functions. In an email shared with Windows Central this morning, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer announced a new round of layoffs, primarily targeting corporate functions like human resources, finance, and marketing. Spencer emphasized that no devices are being canceled or no studios are being closed as a result of the layoffs. The email Phil Spencer sent to staff can be read below. So I'd like to read that, see, and kind of get people. Now it's a bit lengthy, but it just really does go with the context that we're trying to make here. And obviously, look, anytime you see layoffs, it's heart-wrenching. I was telling C privately before we went live, I know a particular story about a person that was laid off and that had a pretty tough 2024 with personal things, and adding this is the kind of stuff that could break a person. Again, the world is unforgiving. The world is incredibly expensive. Maybe this is not the topic that you tuned in for here today for, but I got to be honest with you. When these things happen, we have to talk about it because it is breaking news. It is worthy of a conversation. And again, it's something that I don't want us as gamers to forget, because sometimes we get a bit complacent and we forget that actually human beings make these games. And when you see this, again, it's not a Microsoft problem. It is an industry wide issue. And quite frankly, at the 6 month mark, which was June, we saw more gaming layoffs in the first 6 months of this year than all of 2023. That's frightening. And that is definitely concerning. But let me read the email verbatim, folks, and then we'll get C's opinion. Then we're going to move on to talking about the PlayStation Pro and what a disaster that is for Sony. So Phil says this in the
Yeah, it
email
is.
now. This is the official email.
Mhm.
For the past year, our goal has been to minimize disruption while welcoming in new teams and enabling them to do their best work. As part of aligning our post acquisition team structure and managing our businesses, we have made the decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and support functions, to organize our business for long term success. I know that this is difficult news to hear. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of our colleagues who are learning that they are impacted. In the US, we are supporting them with exit packages that include severance, extended health care, and outplacement services to help them with their transition. Outside US package will differ according to its location. With these changes, our corporate and supporting teams and resources are aligned for substantial future growth and can better support our studio teams and business units with programs and resources that can scale to meet their needs. Separately, as part of running the business, there are some impacts to other teams as they adapt to shifting priorities and manage the life cycle and performance of games. No games, devices, or experiences are being canceled, and no studios are being closed as part of these adjustments today. Finally, and in closing, throughout our team's history, we have made we have had great moments and we've had challenging ones. Today is one of the challenging days. I know that through more changes like this is hard, but even in the most trying times, the team has been able to come together and show one another care and kindness as we work to continue delivering to our players. We appreciate your support as we navigate these changes, and we thank you for your compassion and respect for each other, Phil. Now, look, that does nothing for me. And I don't think that that letter from Phil Spencer does anything to anyone who now has to figure out how they're going to pay the rent, the mortgage, feed their kids, send their kids to school, pay their medical after the severance runs out. There's no specific details as to how long the severance is. What we've heard in the past, especially when it comes to medical, it's usually about a year. For the severance, it's
That's a long
usually
time.
about 6 months. I mean,
That's a
look,
really long time for them.
yeah, it's not. See, and we're running into the holidays, right? Like we're a third through September. We're soon going to be talking about Halloween. We're soon going to be talking about Thanksgiving, and then of course closing out the year is Christmas, and then the New Year. This letter does again. I'm not affected. I'm already retired, but this if I put myself in the shoes of an employee that was getting this letter and just found out that their life is now a complete shit show because they're gone, this does nothing for me. Again, I'm not overblowing this and giving extra unnecessary smoke. I'm just saying that from a human perspective, this just sucks. It does. And maybe other podcasts aren't going to talk about it. And if you feel that maybe we're somehow spinning our wheels and wasting our time, I hear you. But that's not how I feel. I feel like this needs to be discussed. We need to have this conversation. And again, is it the biggest topic of the show? It is not, but it's one that I really want to have. Simon, let's get your hot take on this, man.
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I don't for me in particular, I really don't see this as any of like different than the other ones. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks that it had to happen. I feel bad for the people who, are affected. At the same time, you flip the script and it's like these are not these people working for such a huge company, right? These are not like your people who are down bad and had this job holding on to dear life, and now they don't have it. You know what I'm saying? Like in these jobs, these people are well qualified for the most part, right, to do this type of job, and chances are they'll end up somewhere else relatively soon. I mean, if you listen, if they're giving you 6 months of your normal pay, right, and you got 6 months to kind of live off of that. I mean, yeah, you got to go get a job. You know what I'm saying? You have to go find a job, and we always got to remember that no company is responsible to provide for us forever, right? We have to always be doing it. But honestly, when we think about who they're letting go, I mean, it absolutely makes sense, right? This is all like corporate spaces that
Yeah.
honestly at this point they're
Redundancy is
not.
exactly what's happening here,
Yeah.
see money. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't I see it as them trying to bring Xbox, like Microsoft, closer, within these organizations across ABK and Bethesda, and I think it just does it where they can, now you call HR at Microsoft, like if your HR guy is not there, or maybe they just put it down to only one person at these locations who acts as a liaison between Microsoft and these other places. I mean, we don't know the exact breakdown, but when you look at what's the number, right? 650 people who are non-developers for the most part, right? There's probably some sprinkled in there, right? But for the most part, non-developers. I mean, crap, man, that's almost you could have 3 AAA studios with what it costs to have those 650 people there who are not actually, you know, contributing to the games being made and what ultimately is bringing in the money, right? If they're talking HR, how many HR positions do you need in a company, right? I mean, obviously, with a lot of employees, obviously you need them, but I feel like Microsoft has had a lot of employees, way more employees than what they, have brought on, just with these acquisitions, right? So I think they know how to handle it for the most part. And forever, we've always heard of Microsoft being the best place to work for, right? Like people are always really happy working there, right? So ultimately, I think, bringing Microsoft closer to the developers in all of these places as an organization that's handling the back end of stuff, like your corporate parts of it, I think it just makes sense. Again, I do feel obviously, it sucks for the people. It always sucks. It always sucks for anybody who loses their job. Nobody wishes that anybody loses their job. Um, but at the end of the day, things have to happen, and it has to always be for the good of the company. Like the one thing I hate is, and they put it in there on purpose, but they say they had to cut 650 jobs despite a record breaking, year or whatever that is. Again, um maybe because I just see it from a different perspective, but at the end of the day, just because you have a record breaking year doesn't mean you say we had a record breaking year, so we're going to keep wasting money on things that we don't need, right? That's not how business works. That's not the reality of things, right? They're going to go ahead and do what's best. And listen, again, obviously, Microsoft is doing this now, and it of course comes out when when this whole PlayStation 5 Pro thing is happening. But honestly, it's actually smart, right? Because they're burying it, right? Because this is a nothing burger. They're letting you know they're not. There's no studios being closed. There's no games being shut down. No devices are being shut down. Nothing is changing for what their future is outside of letting go the people that they need to let go of, right? That have nothing to do with the games that are being made. So this is going to come in, and then obviously maybe the ponies will try to keep it going, but that Pro is such an L, dog. I don't know how long it's gonna take before that dies down. So it's you kind of bury bad news where it makes the most sense, and I kind of feel like that's what they did. They saw everything that took place, and they were like, "All right, let's go ahead and let's put this out there." Now, of course, they didn't put this out there to the world. This is an internal situation, and of course, Tom Warren and fam like to go dig all this stuff up, but look, it is what it is. They knew it would probably get out. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, again, sucks for those people. I feel bad for them. I know. like it's coming up to the holidays, but it's not quite the holidays, right? Like you still have a few months beforehand. There's still plenty of time to, get back on your feet, and they're covering them through the holidays minimum, right, with pay, right? So, um, doesn't hurt that bad, thankfully. Um, but yeah, man, I think
Yeah,
that's it.
again, it's not the biggest topic of the show, but one that I believe in my heart that we needed to cover. Again, this is when you make acquisitions like this, as big as bringing in 10,000 potential plus new employees from Activision, Blizzard, and King. These are going to happen. Is it right? No. You like to see anyone lose their jobs? Absolutely not. This particular round is, and I see a lot of people in the chat saying, "Oh, yeah, no, boom," but it's not developers. They're still humans, right? They're still people. I get that they're corporate. I get that they will have other opportunities to work outside of gaming because, again, if they're doing HR, let's just say, you can there's corporate America. If someone was going to hire you for HR, you could work anywhere. That's I,
Mhm.
I I totally get all of that, but I still think that it's worthy of a conversation to have, and I do want to kind of still push the envelope, at least here on this channel, where yes, these are corporate positions, but we have to look at the industry as a whole, and the industry as a whole is, I'll put it to this way: if I'm a younger person looking into getting into gaming, I don't think I choose that career path. That's just me because what's the confidence? All right, the closer we get to AI, is AI going to box out more people? I don't know. I'm not a developer. I know developing games is hard and it's expensive. It's more expensive now than it's ever been, which is why I do appreciate games more so than just, hey, playing the game, it sucks, throw it away. But again,
I mean, to
we're
to be
here.
fair though, with those people, right?
Yeah,
They didn't sign up for gaming, right? Like HR, those people didn't say, "I want to get into games." These are just corporate people who
right.
do
That's
HR
fair.
for a company, right? So they're not like they didn't look at the industry and say, I'm looking to get in." Like this is not a is weird, but this is less about like the game industry and more just about, the fact that these are again corporate positions that at the end of the day, they don't serve Microsoft anymore, right? They're just redundancies as we kind of spoke. And again,
Yeah, I mean that's
not
that's ultimately what they are. Yeah,
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 like I'm not saying, "Oh, wow, this doesn't matter. Screw those people." I'm not. I'm saying that I understand that. I understand it sucks for those people. But it's not like if the news was that they were shutting down, those 650 people were in the games and they were shutting down, all these studios because of like that would be like what like what is happening? Why are you shutting down all these studios, right? Like we got rid of
right.
the people who came in and did nonsense, right? So we got rid of the Tango, we got rid of the not they didn't do nonsense, but they didn't have a future, right? And we got rid of the Austin who did Redfall, right? So that stuff is gone. Everybody else has been pretty good rocking, right? So, like, that would have been like, "What's going on?" You know what I'm saying? Like, what's happening? But with this, nah. I mean, look, it happens. It happens, and it's not in our sector. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all corporate. And at the end of the day, you would think if they were working for Activision or Bethesda or Microsoft that these are qualified people who have the qualifications to go work at a high position or their same position somewhere else, right? Theoretically.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, we got to shift over. See, money. You've been talking about this with obviously yourself, with Doodle, with Hargi Chani. We've talked about it. We talked about it specifically last night. And look, the numbers are in. They don't lie. So I have a tweet from BitCloud Gaming. Now, if you don't know who BitCloud Gaming is, he is a prominent member of the PlayStation content creation community. He's one of the finest there. He keeps it one. He keeps it a buck, as the kids like to say. And he was out there and did a really big hearty laugh when he was live streaming the price of the PlayStation 5 Pro, the bare bones model with nothing but the console, is of course $700. So he put out a tweet And obviously, he's talking about how he believes the PlayStation 5 Pro is considered to him as a PlayStation gamer, and he's not a gamer that hides his trophies from anybody. The guy has hundreds of platinums. He's like Mr. Platinum. He loves PlayStation, but he gives them the smoke when it's necessary. And this is one of those times where he actually did a video where he's calling it an epic fail. Now, interestingly enough, now I went looking, and Sony made private the likes and the dislikes for a reason, because the last number that BitCloud has, and I'm looking at it verbatim, it was 92,000 likes, 158,000 dislikes. See money. And I'm actually, I bet you it's three times that. Even Digital Foundry, who is a defender of PlayStation, were like, yeah, we don't really see. They actually brought to everyone's attention that Harry Potter, or the Hogwarts, was dropped down to 30 frames while they were showing the ray tracing reflections. So what does that ultimately say? You're going to get 30 frames. Tom Warren reported, which I talked about last night, earlier this year, that there's still going to be PS5 Pro enhanced games at 30 frames. Now, see money, one of the head scratching moments has been the media. Now, we talked last night about Jeff Keighley and how many times he tweeted, 14 times actually, until he was community noted on the last one. We talked about that last night, where he was breaking down the price adjustment to inflation on consoles with disk drives versus the PlayStation 5 Pro at $699.99, $700, which does not have a disk drive. So he was community noted for that. That to me is embarrassing. You're supposed to. You're the host of the Game Awards, and you were in such a rush to get this tweet out there to make it make sense. And well, I'd be embarrassed to be. I would have deleted the tweet at this point, because why? I mean, I know that they butter your bread. There's no doubt about it. But this was a clear ridiculousness. So
Yeah, for sure.
Going to IGN, specifically Brian Altano. Not a big fan of his. I used to watch IGN all the time. I actually like Brian. Don't like his work now, to be honest with you. Haven't watched his work in years. He came after me one time after him and Schofield went after Psychonauts for letting them know, hey, you didn't mention Xbox. He wasn't even being a troll. He was just like, hey, why do you keep skipping that this is coming to Xbox? And of course, they threw on the Earth Defense Force for themselves. And of course, that's one of the times I've lost all respect. Well, he did a whole video talking about, if you want the best place to play Grand Theft Auto 6, because he knows he's got the inside skinny, it's going to be PlayStation 5 Pro. No. So there's been some talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro specifically running Grand Theft Auto 6 at 60 frames. Well, Digital Foundry, even though they are PlayStation Pro journalists, were like, yeah, that's never going to happen. So that's not going to happen. There's too much computing going on. There's no way that the PS5 Pro is running Grand Theft Auto 6 at 60 frames. It's just not going to be able to do it. It's going to be 30 frames like all of them before it. Now, will it get there one day? I guess maybe, but I don't think it's going to be at launch. See, money, we got to talk about this, because there are a lot of things here that seem to have gone over the head of a lot of gamers. There's been a lot of pushback. I've even seen some PlayStation players being like, nah, man, this ain't right. And they're right to say that. But there are a lot of people defending this. One particular person that went after BitCloud specifically were like, yeah, real gamers will go buy this console. What? Real gamers? What the hell does that even mean? You mean people that are going to just take it and get a minuscule bump? Now, I don't know about you, C Money, and I want to get your hot take on this. When they were showing it off, Mark Cerny had to logistically guide the eyes of everyone to where he wanted them to see this so-called difference, and even guiding me, I'm like, yeah, I don't really see it.
Yeah,
It-
you could barely see it.
You
You could
could
barely
barely
see it. It
tell.
was it was ridiculous.
Like even the shadows, they specifically showed Spider-Man when he had the black suit on, and they're showing the shadows of the tree. I actually thought the shadows of the tree for the PS5 regular looked better than the Pro.
You
Um,
you know that what's funny is that they go and, like, the defense of it, right? Like, you have John Linneman coming out and some of the other people saying the defense of it is, "Oh my god, look at how bad the video upload was. It crushed it, blah, blah, blah. If you see it regular, if you see it in real life, it's way better." But what they don't understand how stupid that is, right? The reason why PlayStation did it, and they're not as dumb as you guys would like to think, is that at the end of the day, both images are crushed, right? Both look worse than they actually do. So the before picture and then the after picture, both of them look worse than what they actually do if you're watching the game in motion, right? So that's why it doesn't make a difference. If they're both crushed, when they both get amplified to real life, the same difference will be there, right? There's no difference between watching it what they showed you and watching in real life if you're looking at both of them comparatively. Same shit, man. It's ridiculous. The PlayStation 5 Pro at that look, I know the price is crazy, right? And yeah, it is. That being said, if if they had said, "Hold on, F this, we're skipping the Pro. This is the PlayStation 6," and a next generated start, like a next generation started, and it was just this massive jump in technology and this huge boost, and then they said 700. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, they're not gonna sell as many, but at least you'll be like, "Wow, I'm gonna get something really different. I'm getting something big for this." This is literally they spent the entire beginning of this video going back to the PlayStation 5 to tell you about the modes, okay? And how and if you we broke down, we basically did the digital foundry, but the opposite direction where we actually look for the problems instead of trying to let them get away with it. Um, and when you hear what he says, he basically tells you that like the goal, hopefully, is to take that fidelity mode and that performance mode and get rid of the choice, right? Or and then he says, or at least, narrow it down a little bit, which essentially means that it's just a normal little power bump. We see it. It's basically catching up to the Xbox, right? The
the
Series X.
Series X,
It's a
yeah.
has a little bit more power, but Xbox has been handicapped. The Series X has been handicapped this whole time because everybody makes the game for PlayStation, and since the PlayStation can't go higher, they don't spend any time boosting up the Series X, right? Except for when you see somebody like Space Marines who didn't bother doing that and just let it happen, right?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden Xbox Series X trounces the PlayStation 5 Pro, right? It just I mean not the Pro, well, maybe the Pro 2 in the future, who knows? But the PlayStation 5, right? Just slaps it up, right? Destroys it. It was like it was basically like looking at a next gen console versus a last gen console as far as the performance difference. You know what I'm saying? It was like there were scenes where they were at like 30 and or 30 and change, and Xbox was like at 50 and change, right? Like that's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
For the same generation, right? Again, not comparing a mid-gen refresh, right? This is two consoles, same price, right? Two consoles, same price. Xbox Series X slaps it up. Now, if you want to come and say, well, I'm going to spend $700 to hopefully get those frames bumped more or to get them more in line with the 60 FPS number. Because to be clear, very little was discussed. They did not want to put out the idea during that event that the games will look better than quality mode,
Yep.
right? They did not, they were very clear. They did not spend time saying they did very little. They showed Horizon, right? Horizon when they talked about boosting the lighting or something like that. But wasn't it funny that when they talked about that, where was the side by sides? Where was the comparison shots
There
to
wasn't
show
any.
us?
No.
No, right? No, you just wanna put the one thing on there so that we can look at it, "Ooh, wow, look, it looks pretty." But how much prettier does it look, right? Because I played Horizon Forbidden West, and it was a pretty fine looking game. I didn't when I looked at that image, I didn't say, "Wow, this is the power of the Pro? What? What?" You know what I'm saying? Like, no, nothing about it was. And honestly, seeing Space Marine and we did our one of our streams on this, seeing Space Marine 2 shows you why the Pro needed to exist. It
Yeah.
shows you
Yep.
because it literally needs to catch up. It could not do it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in performance mode shows you why they need this thing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in performance mode is basically the game running and Vaseline all over on top of it, right? The blurriest crap like
Yeah.
ever. All right. It's just what they did. This is literally just catch up. Will you see games that the resolution base is slightly higher than on Xbox? Will you see them keep that 60 frames per second line sharper than on Xbox on some games? Yeah, sure. It should. It should.
And for that price,
Right? It would be
absolutely.
pretty s it would I mean, they spent the whole time telling us that the Xbox Series X should look better than the PlayStation 5 with that more power, even though they wanna ignore the fact that we know based off the trial and all that other stuff that they have parity clauses in play
Yep.
to make sure that they don't make the Xbox Series X look special or better, right? So, look, it we've had a lot of fun. We're probably gonna keep talking about it because more of this keeps coming out where people are trying to cap for it. But frankly, at that price, what they are giving is wild. People want to you start seeing people they're trying to compare the Black Galaxy edition of the Xbox, the one that you pre-ordered,
Yeah,
right?
the two
For
terabyte one.
599.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, the 2 terabyte one, right? But they love to say, "Well, that was 599. The PlayStation 5 Pro is 699." No, fam, don't be ignorant, right? Like, that's what you're doing that on purpose. You're trying to
One has a
spread
disk
this
drive
this
and one can
false.
stand on its own.
Exactly.
I
You
mean,
have to slap that disk drive, you have to slap the, stand on there. You're talking about
830.
$810, then you have
Yeah.
tax,
Yep.
right? So, I mean, come on. You're talking this is what we saw on that screen, and I joked about it, but this was the truth. Every time they had when, Mark Cerny did the visual and he zoomed in, right? I told I told the chat and the panel, I was like, "Okay, imagine you're sitting here and you're playing this game on the left, right? The one that doesn't have, the upgrade, right? And then I came into your house like the Kool-Aid man, right? I just burst through your wall, right? And then I opened up a screen and played the right side image, right? I played the right side image for you and said, "Look at that. You see that difference? Okay. Hey, give me $800 right now, and this is what you'll have." Nobody would do it, bro. Nobody would do it. Nobody would look at that upgrade and say, "I will pay $800 right now to get that upgrade." That is why every single poll that you have seen, from ponies who do the poll like Jeff to everybody else who's done a poll, no one, no one wants this thing. So little, like 7%, 14% on the biggest ponies, the biggest pony one when you combined, like, "Oh, yeah, for sure," and then like, maybe. Nobody wants this crap.
Yeah, the
It's
polls
not
have
a
been
big enough
all
jump.
incredibly negative, dude. Honestly, they
Yeah,
have been.
dude.
Yeah.
Dude, it's not enough. It's not enough of a jump. I'm not a person who shies away from spending money on gaming, right? I have a
Well, just
4090.
look at your
Okay.
backdrop.
That too, right? Like I'm just not. I'm not. So it's not like money is not the reason that I think that I would not want this, right? If this was the biggest and like a huge again, it would have at this price. This is where next gen would be if the pricing on the original consoles are staying at 500, right? Like you're not going to make it 500 and then 600, right? Now, I'm not saying it should be, but if it were that, I would at least be able to be like, okay, I gotta, what am I getting? I'm getting new next gen games that are going to look way better, be way more, um, and like that little price difference, that couple $100 between the last gen and this gen, I can see that difference. Okay, wow, let's go. But to be fair, seeing the difference is going to play a major role in next gen. I could promise you right now because
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know we've talked about on the show for a while now that what looks pretty clear to me is that this upcoming generation is going to be the first generation with 3 active generations at the same time. So you're gonna have the new gen, then you're gonna have the series gen, and then the Xbox One gen is still gonna be viable, man, until Fortnite decides we're out, until Minecraft decides we're out, until all these free to play games that are still thriving on that generation, right? That are still working very well on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One's generation. You're gonna have 3 different generations going. You are not like you cannot go and be like, "Hey, better frames," is not gonna work. And I know a lot of people say, "I choose frames over graphics," and they do, right? He said it on the thing. Almost 2/3 of the people who play on PlayStation choose the performance mode, right? The problem is that you can't see that, right? You can't see that performance. I mean, you could when you put them side by side, like a 30 versus that, you could see that it's a little choppy, but it's not the biggest deal, right? On a cutscene, you're not going to see it that way, right? In a cutscene, they're going to make it look sexy no matter what. So it's going to be something where they're really going to have to put something huge, right? Huge, graphically huge, like in the world. Some other big seller is going to have to take place for next gen to really pop off. Because honestly, I don't see I don't see anybody going ahead and um wanting to leave their Xbox One and their PlayStation 4 if the game they play the most is still available to them. I don't see it. I don't see it. So something's gonna have to give to really push people to go forward. And I can tell you right now, this PlayStation 5 Pro, I know they were saying that ultimately it was like 15% of the people who went ahead and who bought a PlayStation 5 Pro versus the PlayStation 4 Pro versus the PlayStation 4, but realize that those 15% of the people, they had a reason. They had a reason. That 15% were people who went ahead and upgraded to 4K TVs, right? They upgraded to 4K TVs. So they were like, okay, I'm buying a new TV. Let me invest in this. And then boom, I have the console that can give me what my TV can do, right? Or at least try to. We know how that worked out for the PlayStation 4 Pro. I mean, yeah, for the PlayStation 4 Pro. So that little spec, there was a real reason. I highly doubt that the the percentage of people who upgrade to a PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be anywhere near 15%. Anywhere near. If they get up to
No, it's
10%,
unlikely.
I would be shocked. I'd be shocked. I just don't see it.
Look,
So
if you go back, see money, and you look at how many people actually invested into the PS4 Pro, it was roughly around 10%. I don't think where we are as a society that that's going to happen again. This is a very expensive ask. And I know that there are a lot of people that continue to run the narrative of it only being 700. And not even being facetious. When you say only $700, you got to look at what you're doing. Now, if you're buying this cold turkey, I'm joining PlayStation Nation and I'm buying everything. It's $830 plus after tax for the current PlayStation 5 that you're gonna get a bit of a bump. Is it a massive bump? No, it is not. And Digital Foundry already told you that. You heard, look, I'll tell you right now, when the IGN PlayStation podcast is sitting there complaining about the pricing of this thing and then saying, hey, we don't see the difference. We have to actually be pointed or have our eyes moved by Mark Cerny, you know that it's bad. If they're going up against
Absolutely.
PlayStation, it's bad. But there is one more part of this conversation that I do want to have, and that is the blame that somehow the pricing of this thing is Microsoft's or Xbox's fault. But before we get there, I do want to catch up on super chats. We have quite a few of them. So the first one of the day comes to us from Simon Brandy. And Simon goes and says this after dropping a very generous £5 super chat. An analyst said PlayStation 5 Pro price is down to no competition. And I agree. Sony has carte blanche being so dominant. The media has played a role against Xbox. Well, we're going to break down why. I mean, again, that's your opinion, Simon. Brother, thank you so much for the generosity. I disagree 1,000%. It is not the lack of competition. It is because people in the PlayStation Nation have publicly said, I will pay $100 for the next God of War because that is what I feel the quality is worth. That is why they're charging $830 for a toothpick stand, a disk drive, and the PS5 Pro, because of consumers like that who are telling corporate America, bend us over and we'll just take it. Ultraman.
Actually, I think that toothpick is actually included. It's the vertical stand that's not included.
Right. No, but I'm just saying that. But most people stand their PlayStation 5s vertically.
Vertically.
Like that.
Oh, yeah,
That is an actual thing, and it's $30. This is a premium product. How does that not come in the box? How does Astrobot, which is a fantastic game and does great work for the controller, not be put in the box? Gets taken out of the box at the last minute, and then you just software load Astrobot's Playroom, which came out 4 years ago. This is your new hardware. Don't you want your new shiny Astrobot being a part of it? Well, I guess not, because they took it out of the box, which is ridiculous. But Ultraman says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. What's up, Boom and C Money? Watched Hargeet and Fonz today, and D graduated from Hidden Pony to full-grown Blue Stallion. Cap for PlayStation 5 was nauseating. I mean, listen, D Batch he is who he is. I don't really have an issue with D. If he's capping for this thing, that's his choice to do it. I don't know how you can personally, and he's the tech guy. He understands tech better than almost anybody. I don't know why he would.
No, nah, you thought he did until he says some crazy shit like he said about what he thinks the PlayStation 5 Pro compares to.
I did see that.
That's wild, dude. That's wild. That's a wild take. That's a wild take.
It's not. Listen. It's not the take I would have went with. But again, D think whatever he wants. It's perfectly fine. He's allowed to have an opinion. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, revenue doesn't always equate to profits, and companies want to see profits and growth. I feel for the people who lost their jobs, but it happens. Yeah, I mean that's fair. I hear you. And appreciate the generosity, Gamer by Choice. Silly Mikey drops a very generous $7 super chat. And he says, here's the real situation regarding the PlayStation 5 Pro. All of these content creators complaining about it are going to be doing unboxing videos come November. I mean, we'll see. There's going to be some people that are pushing back on it and that are probably going to maybe get it from Sony. But I think there's going to be a real scalper problem with this console. And I don't think they're going to release millions. I think there's going to be a small number released. And the scalpers are going to wind up getting it just like they got all the PlayStation 5s. And what you're going to see on Twitter, on the socials, on Instagrams, all your favorite places where you go to get your news, guys like this with ski masks and a garage full with 150 of these things, because that's just what they do.
And then you're gonna have the ponies come out and say, "You see, it's sold out."
Yeah,
everybody wants one.
Yeah. See, look, it's sold out everywhere. Fine, whatever.
Except for eBay. eBay will not sell out, right? eBay will
no,
not
it won't.
sell out.
RC Polygons drops a very generous $10 super chat, and he says, with the firing at Microsoft, I'm not even really shocked at this point. We see so many firings from other companies. It's numbing at this point. Insert, oh no, anyway, Top Gear gif.
You know, he does have a point. He
Yeah,
does
he
have a point.
does. He does.
It's almost like it is almost numb to it. That's why it's kinda like, yeah, I feel bad, you know. Now again, if it were something like the games were impacted or something like that, then it'd be like, "Oh, man, look at what's happening." But, like, firings of just people who have a job and they no longer are needed at that job, it's just like you're numb to it, right? You're just used to it at this point. So many people have been let go from so many different companies that we don't cover here, but if you like, on your Twitter feed, you definitely have seen all these other places that are just firing a bunch of people, man, letting go a lot of people, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
I pulled a
it's
story from
wild.
Yahoo earlier today. Let's see if I can find it real quick because the amount of people that have lost their job is just it's bonkers. It's honestly bonkers. But listen, let's continue because I do want to get to the second half of this topic. We have CR Wimpy drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, now we see the difference between OG PS5 to the Series X because of parity. That's very true. Cannot argue that point.
Yep.
Yep. And there you go.
If you it's funny because when you watch that thing, he's basically, like, destroying every pony narrative that existed about power
Yep.
before. All of them saying, "Oh, the PlayStation's more powerful." Bro, he literally went over there and it's like, typically, on quality mode, it's 1080p. I mean, I'm sorry, it's 4K at 30 FPS and then 1080p at 60 FPS. Like, he's telling everybody that it's just, it's not that great, guys. Like, it was our first attempt, all right? This is here to try to bring it up to where it should have been.
I wonder. And again, I'm not a tech guy, folks. So I'm literally making a statement. And if I sound like a boob, it's because, well, I don't know tech like that. But I wonder, see money, because of now there's a pro PlayStation, and it's going to be potentially in some areas a pinch better than the Series X. Now that these devs will be making games for the market leader's box and making a pro version of said game,
That they're forced to make. They have to
now
do a
they're
full
for
version.
that's it. That's it. Now they're forced to take advantage of the Series X power. And I wonder if that happens, will the Series X games then outperform the Pro? Because again, it's coming from someone that's not a tech guy. I'm simply just asking the question, if they're gonna make the Pro version, which is using all the bells and whistles, and then the Xbox Series X, that's always the one kind of just lessened because they were making it for the PS5, which is a lesser powerful console. And now there's a PS5 version, a Pro version. The Series X version is going to be made because now they are being forced to make this better version. At some point, does now the Series X outperform the Pro? I
I
mean,
mean,
it's a phenomenal
we've seen
question.
it the other way around, right? Like,
Yeah,
let's be clear, the PlayStation 5 only has 36 cores or 36 compute, whatever the hell it's called, where, Xbox has 52. Now the new PlayStation has 60. It's a 8, uh, there's a difference of 8 versus on the other end, it's a difference of 16, right?
yeah.
But still, the PlayStation 5, base, because they were making the game for that and then porting it to Xbox, outperformed, the Series X on some of these things, right? That's where they get all gassed up about it, where they thought they had power. But we know that it was just because Xbox Series X was being throttled. Now, you got you have a half the difference of power, right? So, Xbox over PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X versus the Pro. It's there's only 8, computes or whatever, I forget the name of it, but, there's only 8 difference between them. I mean, I can 100% see that it works out where it does it. I mean, the CPU now, they're finally roughly around the same, so that's the only big difference you're gonna see there. I mean, I could see it. Plus, if they're pushing heavier on ray tracing, right? Because that's one of the things that we're talking about, pushing heavy on ray tracing. We saw that the Harry Potter one, they stood at 30 FPS to push that,
Yes. Yep. To get
right?
the
They
ray
stood at
tracing
30
working
FPS.
correctly. Yeah.
So, I mean, I I wouldn't, uh I wouldn't say never that you wouldn't see the Xbox version, outdo the PlayStation version, especially if whoever's making it, right? Like, depending on the people who are making it, yeah, very possible.
Yeah,
Very
and we're
possible.
gonna see. We'll see soon enough because Assassin's Creed is supposed to be one of the first newer games to take advantage of it for the Pro when that releases November.
Which
But
again,
again,
they didn't do a side by side,
no,
right?
they did not.
They
They did not.
showed it, but they didn't wanna do a side by side on that one either. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Again, it's very suspicious how they did things. Certain things got side by side, you couldn't tell. None of the things were like, "Hey, this is what it looks like." What is that? Is that the Pro screen? Because that wasn't confirmed. Interestingly enough, that wasn't confirmed is whether or not that list of games is going to be paid for. Meaning that are they going to charge you a $10 upgrade fee? And they haven't talked about that yet.
They
Suspiciously
didn't say
enough,
free. They did
they did
not
not
say
say
free
free.
upgrade. They did not say free upgrade.
Again, if it's Sony, they're gonna charge $10 for it. If you want to play this version, it's $10 more. You're gonna see, folks. We'll learn soon enough. Um,
Honestly, they're probably debating that right now. They're probably going back and forth whether we should charge for it or whether we should do it. And it's probably going to be the reception that is going to dictate it. Like with this looking so bad right now, with people disinterested in it, I think that there's a chance that they might come around and be like, "Hey, those upgrades are free. Come on
yeah,
over."
yeah, we'll see.
Just to
Um,
try to be the selling point, right?
They are the nickel and dimers of the world, though. I mean, they just raised the controllers without telling anybody by $5, and
$5.
people are like,
That's
yeah, it's
crazy.
only $5. It's $5. It doesn't matter whether it's only five. It's $5 for a controller that they've added nothing to raise the price. So stop it. JJ saying 117 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, and Nintendo and Xbox will have their, I guess he's saying their consoles at 299 moment. I mean, it's possible. I mean, we're gonna see. I mean, I did give some smoke to Xbox because I would have immediately announced a price drop, but everyone made a good point last night where he said that they have time because the console isn't out today. It's coming out November
Exactly.
7th. So they do have an opportunity to kind of prepare, throw that Call of Duty on the box, drop it by $100. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the X is 449, drop it 50, make it 399. And when you put it out there with Call of Duty on the box and it's 399 and you include a month of Game Pass versus a $700 console, people are going to be like, they're going to look at that console side eye. So this is an
You
opportunity.
also I was just gonna say you also have to realize that we do have time so that the digital foundries and such will start
Yep.
they'll start getting access to it, right? And they'll start doing comparisons. And I can tell you right now, if they go ahead and start doing comparisons with the Series X versus the Pro, and it's not some if it doesn't look at the screen like this is worth spending $700 to upgrade, or I'm sorry, realistically $800 and change to upgrade, right? Maybe Xbox not do crap because they're gonna sell it. They're cheaper anyway, number one, right? So no matter what, people are gonna go into Christmas, into a store and be like, at $500 or 450 for the discless, right? The Series X is still a steal over the Pro, right? And then I think the Series S is gonna still be no matter what the power is on these other ones, your Series S is still gonna be your killer, right? Like that's
Yeah.
gonna be you
Mm-hmm.
come in like last year during Black Friday. I remember seeing that
It was under
it
200
got
bucks. It
down
was
to as little as
198.
I saw places that had it as low as 150
Costco did
last
until
year.
they sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
They sure
So
did.
if they did that last year, imagine this year coming in at 150 for and you can play, all these
Call of Duty
games
at
that
60
are
frames. PS, by the way.
mm,
Yeah. It's
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 gonna
gonna
be
be it's
crazy.
gonna be interesting. But we have an additional super chat here from Simon Brandy, very generous additional £5 super chat. And Simon adds to the conversation. The US has the cheapest price for the PlayStation 5 Pro at $699. In the UK, it's £699. It said it converts to the the UK at 915. Wow,
Jesus.
dude, and that's the base model. That's just bugged out. This is what happens when they don't have a competitor to keep them in check. Yeah, I got to push back on that,
That
brother. That is
that's a
that is
false narrative, man. It's a
it is
false
not
narrative. They listen,
Xbox's fault.
Xbox is number 1 in profit. Understand that. That's
Yeah,
why you're paying more. You're not paying more because Xbox is not competition. You're paying more because of how much competition Xbox is. Xbox makes more in profit than PlayStation does.
yeah,
That is the
by leaps
only
and
that's end
bounds.
game. That's end game. So why do you think they're raising your prices up to get it? Not you particularly, but the
No, I,
folks
I
who
know what
are
you mean.
looking to get a pro, right? Because they want to make more profit. They're trying to make more profit, right? Because their profit is not as good. It's embarrassing to them that they sell so much as far as like the numbers confirmed. Like when you look at
Console
their
sales.
gross amount, right? Their gross number versus what they keep. It's embarrassing to them. That is
So
what it is. These people running around saying this other shit, they're so full of crap. They're so full of it, dude. Sony just doing this for profit. That's why they're charging
that,
more. They want profit. Profit is where they lose. They are the losers in profit.
yeah.
That's fact.
Yeah. Well, listen, see money. Let's get right to the topic. I'll catch the last couple of
Yeah,
super
yeah, yeah.
chats before we get on out of here. So the narrative that has been running rampant, and people like are for real, but this isn't an assumption. I'm not being facetious. I'm not trying to make a joke out of it. The narrative, and again, Simon, I appreciate the generosity, brother, and obviously we're not singling you out. This is your opinion. You're entitled to it, but I have to push back on it because I do not believe Sony is acting the way Sony is acting, which they have shown us many times before. See money. This is who they are. They charge you $10 for an upgrade fee for graphics when smart delivery exists. They charge you to have cloud saves. They just raised the price of the actual console in Japan before the announcement of this egregious $700. They also, in the same week, raised the controllers by $5. This is who Sony is. Last year, they raised their service prices to as much as $180 a year for their maximum edition of PSN, and they do not add enough day and date. Now, have they had a few? Sure, but they also took out Spider-Man and Miles Morales when Spider-Man 2 was coming out so they could sell it to you. You know what else they just did? They took out Horizon Forbidden West because Lego Horizon is coming out. And instead of having that game in there where someone that might buy the Lego game and say, what is this Horizon game? I'm going to go play it. Now they're going to make people go buy it. How come MLB The Show is in Game Pass and not in the service? How come Concord wasn't in the service? Because this ultimately is who PlayStation is. And who put them there are the people who continue to pay for these things. And that is why they're ballsy enough to drop a 700 bare bones next, I almost said next gen,
Mid-gen.
PlayStation, mid-gen refresh, and fresh faced get out there and be like, yeah, you folks need it. And they're doing that because there have been people, there's been spaces, there have been podcasts. I'll pay $100 for the next God of War because I'll pay for quality. It's that mentality that gives the absolute Sony's the people in charge, go ahead and charge them more because they're going to pay for it. See, money, this is a narrative I do not agree with. I think that it has so many falsities to anyone running it. The lack of competition, again, Xbox gets blamed for everything. The Series X, when something doesn't work on another platform, is blamed because of the Series S. Now we're hearing, well, it's because Microsoft isn't competing. Well, yeah, I think they are competing because they spent $100 billion in 5 years and they own every major IP you could possibly want. And yes, some of them are going to go to PlayStation, and people are going to play them and they're going to buy them, and all of the monies coming from the PlayStation gamers are going to fund the next game. So thank you very much for that. But see, let's talk
Facts.
about this. This is I find it to be ridiculous at best. What are your
It's
thoughts?
so stupid. It's so stupid because this is the problem. All these people who say this, right? Who are out here saying this, they want to live in a bubble where somehow they believe PlayStation is making Sony the most money in the world. Okay? Again, it is not. Sony has showed you that they are not investing in PlayStation the way they invest elsewhere, right? They're looking to invest in movies, they're looking to invest in music. PlayStation is not one of those places that they're doing heavy investing anymore. Bungie was the last one, and that's probably going to be the last that you see for a while. The point is, PlayStation is not making the price high because they're coming from a position of power. It's not from a position of power, it's a position of desperation. They need the profit, and they know there's plenty of suckers who will do it. They know. This is the reality. This is why they're doing it. It's not because they are this all-powerful monopoly on consoles now. They're not a monopoly on consoles. Nintendo is smoking them. What are you talking about? Nintendo has the monopoly of consoles if you wanna talk about who has the most shit out there right now. Let's be real, man. These ponies and these dudes that get listen, they listen to listen. I know there's a lot of these dudes who are, quote unquote Xbox guys who watch a bunch of these ponies talk. Okay. And they go listen to them. And listen, you obviously, if you go there and you spend your time listening to them, they have some influence over you, right? And what happens is it changes your mindset to start believing this pony narrative, right? To say that the fault of PlayStation raising their price is because Xbox is not competition. That's like you being abused in your relationship with your spouse and they just beating on you every day and you say, "Yeah, no, it's because my mailman doesn't bring the mail on time. He always brings it random times. He gets so mad when it happens and he beats me." Like, what are you talking about? These are Xbox has nothing to do with what PlayStation is doing. Xbox has already left. They've already left the arena. They don't give a shit about the game that PlayStation is playing. PlayStation is still playing at the kiddie table, right? They're still doing the same old baby moves, right? They haven't changed. They're lost right now, right? They're so afraid to let go, right? That's where they are. They don't want to let go of the past, right? They don't want to move forward. Xbox has already done that, right? That might hurt you guys. It might make you feel sad. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, for you guys, Xbox doesn't care how you feel. Xbox is crushing it again with the amount of profit that they make over PlayStation. You don't think they look at that and laugh? You don't think Satya is like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait to do my next acquisition that's gonna boost us up even further, that's gonna slap them up even further." Come on, man. The idea is ridiculous. I'm sorry if you're sitting there saying that to yourself that, "Oh yeah, that really is the reason. Yeah, this Xbox, God, stupid Xbox. If only they would compete." Come on, man. Come on. PlayStation spent like $3 billion or maybe 4 all up with all the studios that they bought in the last few years that they got pumped to buy stuff. Xbox
Yeah,
spent over 100 bill.
yeah.
I mean, come on, we're not the same. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? All
I
right.
mean,
It's crazy.
interestingly enough, see, and I want you to touch on this point because this is a point that gets overlooked. You made mention of something moments ago where Xbox has left the way that they do business, right? they're not chasing what PlayStation is doing. PlayStation has and is and continues to be the same PlayStation from the PS1 days. Sell you a box, you buy games for said box, and then they move you to the next generation where you buy new box and new games. Now, yes, things are backwards compatible. At least there's that. But the difference of where Xbox is you can play an Xbox game anywhere you have the ability to do so. You can play it on your PC, you can play it on your console, you can play it on your handheld, you can play it on your TV, you can play it here, there, and everywhere. That is why, even though consoles are important, and of course they want to sell consoles, they're not harping and doing what Sony is doing. Sony is years behind. See, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's the reality, right? It's 100% the reality. They are years behind. They're stuck they're stuck trying to wrangle the same number of people that they've always had. We've heard it multiple times. The console market is not growing. It's not growing. And I got to tell you, bro, they have 61 million consoles shipped.
Yep.
61 million of them. What has that done for the sales of their games?
Wow.
What has it done? Where does the number of consoles out there for them equal so many more sales of their games? It doesn't. It doesn't. Xbox has a console. It has a console. It's going to keep having a console for as long as people keep desiring to have a console. But that is not the only thing that they do. They have multiple ways to get into this ecosystem. And it all benefits us at the end of the day. Again, you guys, like, this is the point that these people try to downplay.
Yep.
And it frustrates
me. I know exactly where you're going. I know
Xbox going big, Xbox going wide, Xbox doing all of this to gain more back to them, more money. You know what that does for Xbox players? This is why we talk about it like this, is because all of that comes back to us in Game Pass.
Yep, there you go. That's it.
All of that comes back to us in Game Pass. If you're not an Xbox dude and you haven't experienced Game Pass and you're just seeing it from the outside, you don't have your hands on those games that come out all the time, and the ability to just be like, oh, I want to play this. I feel like playing this. Let me do that. And just hit download, or right on the cloud. You don't even have to download that shit. You just go, boom, play it right there. You're good to go. All of that comes back to us. We see it every month in, month out. Yep. We see the games coming into Game Pass for us, El Gratis, as part of our subscription. So for us on Xbox side, when we talk about Xbox moving past the little playground that PlayStation is now alone in, right? That little playground that they play in, and they moved on to the big leagues. I'm sorry, but for us, it's a huge win. It's a huge W. You might not care. You might say, "Oh, but Game Pass is for poor people." Well, let me be poor. Let me be poor. I'll be happy as shit being poor, playing a shit ton of games, while you, who are rich, are only playing a few.
Yeah, you know what? You're so poor that you're going to be able to play Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, Indiana Jones.
Facts.
It's, look.
Absolutely.
Great conversation all around, folks. Apologies for the dollar store looking thing. Obviously, I'm still having issues with my internet. I could not play the footage. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm going to try and figure it out. I got to get the artwork. Again, it's the craziest thing. I did not have the forethought to have Sean, who's an amazing artist, do 1 through 10. I have 4 through 10 overlays, but I don't have for 2 or 3 people. It's the ridiculous, a failure on my part. So apologies for this dollar store looking podcast. I gotta get it done. I'm gonna reach out to Sean today, and he's very good. He'll probably be able to snap it up quick. Listen, let me catch up on these last super chats, and we'll get to your outro. We got a lot to get into because you have been killing it with your content. You and the missus have been doing the gaming lord's work, if you will. And of course, Harky Chani has been, man, he's been full rabid, man. That guy's been cutting throats left, right, and
Oh
center.
yeah. That's
But
what I tell him. He's out here. We talk about it all the time on our show. You know, he's now kind of seen the light, you know what I'm saying? Because he comes on the show and he gets to not
oh,
worry about having any
he's
ponies, no ponies or pony bots trying to hold him down. So he
no,
goes out
no.
there and now he comes out, he don't care. He's like, fuck it. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
he's an
It's fun.
undercover
It's
agent
funny. It's
now. We
funny
got
to
him out
see
in these
because he's
streets.
normally very even killed, and lately he's just been like, rah, you know. It's great. We have
The
Michael
Hardy's been
Mooney.
unlocked. You know what I'm
He
saying?
doesn't been unlocked. That's hilarious. I don't know. Michael Mooney drops a very generous 10-pound super
Funny.
chat, and Michael says, I wasn't shocked that PlayStation only require games to be 1080p to 1440p at 30 frames on PS5, and then 1440p to 2160p at 60 on the Pro to qualify for an enhanced label. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. If you go back to the Tom Warren report, he's already broken it down. This is stuff that's already come out. He obviously seen the documents where there's going to be pro enhanced games at 30 frames. That's
You imagine spending $830
no
in your game that you're so pumped for, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be so great. I'm gonna play it, and I'm
30
gonna get
frames.
60 FPS," and it comes out that it's just 30 frames, and the developers did exactly what developers do on a closed box. They choose to push the graphics and not the frames. This is what happens. This is the only every single game that exists, all of them, every single one, there's no exception. Hellblade, we already saw it with Starfield. Every game can be 60 frames per second on any of these consoles. It's all about what they want it to look like to balance that out,
Right.
right? You could make them all 60 FPS, but certain games like a Hellblade, they said, no,
We
we're
want
going to focus,
fidelity.
we're going to push the power.
Yeah.
Eventually, they might put out a 60 FPS set like they did with Starfield. Starfield was 30. Oh my God, I can't handle it. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh shit, now it's 60. Wow.
In
Oh, and
some
not only is
instances,
it
it's
60
it's
there, but it's
over
60 on the
100.
S. It's
Yeah,
60 on
60 on
the
the S.
S.
Yeah.
It's 60 on the S, the potato that they all talk about. The potato. Fuck out of here. Yo, we all know now who's the actual potato, and that potato is the PlayStation 5. Woo! That
Yeah.
is the funny,
It's also the
funny
PlayStation 4, which is technically holding back everyone, but no one talks about it. It's fine. It's fine. Whole Grain Bread drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, watch the PlayStation 5 Pro games be $5 or $10 more than the base PlayStation 5 games. I see Sony doing that 100%. And again, they haven't mentioned it, which is why I think they're going to do it. I'm telling you,
I can
it's
see both
Sony.
versions.
So can I.
I feel like their choice would be to charge because that's what they've done.
Right.
I feel like it depends on, when when does the pre-order go live for this thing?
I think in October,
October.
beginning of October. If I'm not
I mean, you might
mistaken.
see them change it depending. Like they might wait to like the very last minute to go into that just to try to get people who are already pre-ordered it locked in. Or if the numbers look really bad, maybe they do it and say, hey, they're free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I can see it both ways. The word has
free
been
is
really
not in their
bad.
vocabulary, my brother.
That's
I
true.
will
That's
fall
true.
out of my chair if it's free. I'm gonna be honest with you, live on the air, right out of the chair, legs up and all. We have here Will Broke Boy Lewis. Will, what's up, brother? Thank you so much again for
Well,
this
what's up, fam?
incredible support. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, so now devs are going to have to make a PS4, a PS5, and a PS5 enhanced pro version of a game, yet they will say that the Series S is holding back gaming. Phenomenal freaking point right there. I mean,
Clowns.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Brian McHenry drops a very generous $5 super chat. Brian goes on to say, I saw my GameStop is offering $400 for the PlayStation 5 trade-in. That's a great deal, but I'm not still interested. I mean, I'm still not interested. I mean, look, if you needed to, okay, let's just say this, and this is where if it works for you, I'm not going to fight you, folks. I'm not watching your pockets. Spend your money how you want to spend them. It's fine. But if you take your current PlayStation, which getting 400 is excellent. Let's not make a mistake. That's an excellent trade in value.
385.
You
385.
Yeah, well, yeah, you take it, you trade it in, you still have to come up with nearly $425 for the Pro if you're getting the disk drive and the stand. And if you are a first adopter, you probably have a disked PS5. And you probably have to listen. I'm always going to have a disk drive when available because of Black Friday sales. It's so much cheaper to go drop. I paid 31 bucks for the Last of Us 1 remake, for Final Fantasy 16, and there was another one. I don't remember what it was. And they were less than half price of what they were when they came out. And I'll get up off the couch. It's not a problem. And pop the disc in to pay half price. You're not going to get the same deal. And where it really the rubber hits the road here is you can't buy digital games cheaper on other places because Sony has removed that you can only buy it from their store and they dictate what goes on sale. That is a problem and why you should have a disk drive. But that's just me. And lastly, our good friend Bounty drops who's been a channel member for 39 months. Dude, that is crazy generous of you, and we super appreciate it. He says, Wagwan, boom, and see money. Keep up the good work. And TTS, which is talk that shit. That's right, I said it. Them ponies. Enough said. There you go. Enough respect. Appreciate it. See money.
Thanks.
Appreciate you being here. Chat, we had almost 900 live viewers across X and YouTube. Ah, man, that is amazing. Mrs.
Awesome.
Boom and I are always incredibly humbled by the outstanding support. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're finding the channel for the first time and you enjoyed the conversation, please consider subscribing, as Mrs. Boom and I are now on the hunt for 16K. Now, granted, we are a bit of ways away from it. I think about 900 to be honest, but we just hit 15K a couple of weeks ago. And obviously, through the likes, through the subs, it helps the channel grow in a lot of ways. So of course, if you enjoyed the conversation and you appreciate the honesty, and we had a lot of fun here, me and C, we always do, please consider subscribing. Absolutely. But now, C, we got to sell your brand, brother, because obviously you do some really amazing work with Doodle, and of course which is the missus. You obviously have a lot of programming that I'd like you to kind of let people know about. You have Him, Her, and the Dev, which I think is one of my favorite new programs because you do highlight smaller devs that might not get the shine, that might not get a look, or you get a chance to, review their game and get it out to the masses, which I think is brilliant. But you also have a lot of stuff that is, let's just say, a little scandalous, and they have fun. And obviously, a part of that has been the pony chopper known as Hargeet Chani, who's just has been. It's no holds barred with Hargeet. Talk about it, brother. Where can people check out your podcasts and, more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yeah, so my wife Doodle, she is a pony slayer for sure, and
Indeed,
I think
she is.
Hargeet hanging around with us for a little while is kind of unlocked a few things in there. So Hargeet ain't messing around no more. But yeah, man, obviously, Boom, thank you, man, for having me on the show. I love being on the show, man. So first, obviously, you guys can find me here every Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. On Xvlog Live, which is a Xbox show, guys. Thank you pretty much. Just remember that. But yeah, man, on Twitter, X right here, boom, see money forever. You can follow me there. Been having a lot of fun on Twitter these last few days. Making the ponies cry. Yo, they cry so hard, bro. They cry so hard. You know what's funny? Just if you are on Twitter, I want you to just observe, right, how the way you know that the PlayStation 5 Pro is such an L, right, is that all the ponies who are talking about it are always trying to defend it, right? There's no position of power. They're not coming out saying, "Oh, look at this beautiful graphics," or "Look at what I'm showing you here versus what you have." No, no, no. Everything's always in defense of the price. Is always at the defense of the box. They're defending it. they're coming from a position of weakness. It's hilarious. So you got to keep making fun of them. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, so follow me on Twitter there so you can see some of that. It's a good time. But yeah, our channel's called On Point for Gamers. I did put the link in the I did put the link in the chat. And yeah, it's me, my wife, my son comes on often, and we have different shows that we do. We do 4 shows for sure a week. Sunday starts our week at 10 a.m. Eastern with Morning Quest with Dude Don't See Money. Very chat heavy show. You know, we spend a lot of time talking with the chat, you know, bouncing off all the things they say, and we really just kind of you know, spend the time doing that. That's at 10 a.m. Eastern. On Tuesday nights, we have Night Quest, which is like the reciprocal of that, which is still a chat, you know, focus show, but we typically have a guest with us on that show. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. This last Tuesday one was hilarious. You gotta go back and watch it if you haven't. And then tonight is our OG podcast, the one that started it all, the On Point Gaming podcast, and that one's at 8 p.m. and that's me and Doodle. Sometimes Madman will hop on. And you know, we just TTS, man. It's a great time. Again, that's at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow night is Friday night. It's our scandalous night. It's called our show's called The Night Shift Let's Talk Gaming. And that's with me, myself, and we have the homie Hargeet Shani, the Pony Slayer, right? He's always in there, bro. Killing it. And then we have the homie Demo Flow Gaming. He's also rocking with us on Friday nights. It's a fun time. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely come check us out, man. We have a good time. We are a Xbox focused channel. If you are a PlayStation fan, you are free to come. You are free to talk in the chat. Just don't become a pony, right? So it's a pony free zone, right? So we don't allow our chat to, you know, have to deal with nonsense. So we just snipe everybody who's coming in here to talk crap. So come hang out with us, have a good time. It's a fun time, man. We do have fun, and I think that that's our biggest thing. But again, shout out to Boom for having me on the show. Appreciate you, brother.
Well, I
Looking forward to next
appreciate
week.
you being here every Thursday, and obviously, then we're all here to have fun. We're here to talk about games. Again, I'm gonna fix the art issue that I have going on very soon. Like I said, I'm gonna reach out to as soon as the show is done. I got to give Sean a call and get working on that. I'll figure out eventually. We don't have the gig up, gig down. That's the problem. They're working on it right now. We're gonna get fiber hopefully by the end of the year, and then I'll never have a problem again. We have a gig
Got it.
down, but I'm rocking 40 megabits upwards, and when you have gameplay, normally it doesn't give me a problem. I don't know
Yeah,
what the heck
it was fine forever. I don't know what's going
forever,
on.
and all of a sudden now I'll figure it out. But look, until we figure it out, folks, you're gonna see what you're gonna see. But at least you're still gonna hear the good
Right.
voices. You're gonna get the good
That's it.
content. You're gonna get the laughs. And again, a big thank you to all of the super chats and channel memberships that come in. Do not forget September 27th, which of course is the 6th annual Boom's birthday bash. Right, my birthday's on the 25th. We do this every
Nice.
year. It is my birthday, but you fine folks get the gifts. That's right, because Mrs. Boom and I are giving away $500 worth of gift cards, 10 $50 gift cards to your platform of choice: Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo eShop. We'll send it digitally. And if you are outside of the United States, again, we pride ourselves in this. We are one of the few channels that welcome in and offer those same prizes to our international viewers. So if you are someone that wins outside of the Americas, we will send you that money via only PayPal, and any transfer fees and denominational differences we pay for. You pay for nothing. You win, you win. The only thing that you have to do is we will not ship it to any money apps or any of that shit. It's PayPal only, because what that does is that covers us and it protects us from scams. So again, that's going to be the 27th of September. That is we always have these big giveaways on Breakfast with Boom. And again, speaking of
So
which, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a lot to get into. And we got some Call of Duty numbers, folks, that are going to blow your wigs off. Because listen, Black Ops 6, I say this, and I'm not a Call of Duty player, but now I am. And last night, live on the air, I paused it. You saw it, folks. 45 kills on a board. That's right. This old man has still got some bark in that and bite in me. And I'm showing these youngsters what it's all about. But ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Super appreciate it. Of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. To live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.